Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Happy Camper Radio Show. The only place you need to be when you're ready to talk camping. Camping is what we're about. Camping is all we talk about. Happy New Year 2017. It's our first show of the new year, episode 162, and I have a very fitting program for you today. I think it's a perfect program to start off the year 2017. We're going to be talking about cold weather camping. Is it cold? Is it freezing where you're at right now? Would you ever think about going out camping in 3 or 4 feet of snow? Maybe be below sub-zero temperatures, if you want to call it that. I wouldn't. I don't think so, but I'll say this. I don't mind some brisk temperatures when I'm out camping. Why? Because I'm a cold weather type of guy. I have always camped in the fall and the wintertime months. That's not to say that I don't enjoy spring and summertime camping. Sure, I like getting out to the campgrounds. I like to mingle around other campers and meet some new friends just about everywhere I go. But there is nothing wrong with going out and enjoying some cold weather camping. For me, it really means something to sit by a campfire when the temperatures are just kind of down there, so to speak. And I love throwing some extra logs on the fire. I love sitting there with some hot chocolate, some marshmallows, and all those other good things that go along with those cold temperatures. What does it take for you to add some more gear to your supply right now that would allow you to go cold weather camping? We're going to take a look at all the options today and some of the additional supplies that you may need if you are considering a cold weather camping trip. So stick around. It's a great program, as always, here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Get in touch with us anytime here at Happy Camper Radio by calling 404-537-2267. That's 404-537-CAMP. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to www.happycamperradio.com. There you'll find all of our social media icons right there on the homepage. Click on any one of them and you connect right up with us. Take the studio tour. See what we're doing behind the scenes. In fact, I've added some new gears to the studio here just recently, and I'm going to be featuring them on Facebook here in just a little bit. Got a few more connections to make, but I'm telling you, I love sitting in this studio, ultra-modern broadcast quality. It is a great place to be, the Happy Camper Radio studio, and you can find the pictures on our homepage at happycamperradio.com. Also got some interesting camping tips there for you if you want to take a look at them. You can also listen to any one of our previous episodes by clicking on the podcast episode tab in the upper right-hand corner of the homepage. Take Happy Camper with you just about anywhere you go. The show is heard all over the country by great listeners just like yourself. You can find us in the iTunes Store on Podbean, Myra Guide, Stitcher, the BlackBerry podcast directories, and now on iHeartRadio. Tell your friends, listen to Happy Camper Radio today. Right now, I'm going to take you over to the shout-out window because we had some newcomers to the program, and we want to take a moment to recognize them. They just recently signed up with us on social media. First off, to Noel Smith, Mindy Haynes Melman of Morton, Pennsylvania, Ola Bell of Dawsonville, Georgia, Lisa May Lorazan Ortega of the Philippines. They like us on Facebook. To Roger Whitfield, Lizette Austin from Indiana, Pascal Guyan from Los Angeles, California, and finally, to the wonderful folks over at Pensacola Beach RV in Pensacola, Florida. They're following us on Twitter. Thank you all so very much. Glad to have you on board, and more importantly, thank you for being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Would you like to be on the program? I'd love to have you. Get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. Is there something in the world of camping you'd like to talk about? I'd love to talk with you. I'm always up for great conversation with our listeners. Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. I don't know if I mentioned this in one of our previous episodes. We did make it up to our camping destination in Hiawassee back in November. I have been talking about this on the show for years. It's something we look forward to. A lot of the guys that are in law enforcement, retired law enforcement officers, we get together once a year in November to take on this special trip up in Hiawassee. Unfortunately, this year we had a very low turnout, and one of the things that set everybody back was the wildfires that we were experiencing here in the Southeast. And unfortunately for us, when we went camping, we walked right into a no burn ban. And that was statewide at that particular point. I'm sure they've, lifted those bans by now. But at that particular time, we were also experiencing the horrific fires in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I know you've watched that on the news. It was terrible. It's going to take those folks a long time to recuperate. I was in Gatlinburg once, and I didn't go camping. I was up there with the family taking in some of the attractions. I know we have Dollywood up there, and I had an opportunity to do some hiking while I was there. But that was many, many years ago. It's an awesome place to visit. I hope that everything can rebuild and the wildlife and everything around there can just kind of build back up again, because it is a wonderful destination to take your family, to take your friends, and just to get away. The wildfires in Gatlinburg was only part of what was going on in North Georgia. They had wildfires that were taking out several hundred acres. Fortunately for us, the fires did not work their way down into our camping area. But when we arrived, we could smell the smoke. We could see the light haze in the air. And I didn't want to postpone the trip for the simple reason I've never missed a trip for the past 20 years that I've been going. And I didn't want to let this be a reason not to go. The only problem was we couldn't build a campfire. And you've got to ask yourself, what kind of camping trip is it when you cannot build a campfire? It all depends on weather conditions. This is why I tell people all the time, it is so very important for you to check the forecast. You've got to make sure everything is in place. Is everything going to go your way? Camping is one of these things where we hope for the best every time we pack the gear and head out the door. When we have vacation coming up, sometimes we plan our camping trips, especially those week-long camping trips, several months in advance, because we've got to plan them around our vacation schedules at work and vacation schedules from school. And it's very important that you have everything in place. But let's keep in mind, too, we have no control over Mother Nature. If she's going to rain on us, if she's going to snow on us, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. But what I want to talk about today is cold weather camping. Have you ever thought about taking your family out on a cold weather camping trip? I'm not talking about taking them out when the snow is 3 or 4 feet deep, or when the temperatures are down below zero, or when there's high winds to the point where it is so windy that there's a possibility that your tent could pick up and fly away in the air. I'm talking about a cold, brisk weather camping trip. I do understand that most campers, and I'm sure most of our listeners, do go camping in the spring and summertime months. I'm a spring and summertime camping too. I'm more preferable toward the fall and winter time camping. But I do get out in the spring and summertime because I like to be around other campers. I like to meet people. I like to see where people are camping and what they're doing, where they're coming from. And I'm one for great conversation at the campground. If you are camping in the campground that I am camping in, I don't care who you are, you're invited over to my campsite. Pull up a chair, we're going to throw another log on the fire, and we're going to have a great conversation. I'm going to offer you some hot chocolate, anything that I have that can make your day brighter. Come to my particular campsite, and believe me, you're going to have a wonderful time. But if you're going to be going camping in the cold weather and you're a young family, it's so important for you to look out for your family, especially your young kids, because there are going to be some extra things that you're going to have to take into consideration when you're going out on a cold weather camping trip. If you've never done it before, I would recommend maybe an overnight trip, maybe a 1 or 2 day trip. and try not to drag it on out for a whole week, because you just don't know how your kids are going to adjust to this, or how yourself is going to adjust to this. All right, but here's some of the things, I want you to keep in mind too. When you're taking out the kids on a cold weather camping trip, it's so important to bundle them up. Anytime that you plan on a trip, pack some extra layers of clothing with you. Make sure your kids have everything they need. Start with their suitcase and then work up to yours or your knapsack. I don't know too many people that actually take some luggage with them, but have a checklist available, what you want to have for your kids, just to make sure everybody has what they need. You don't want anybody to be freezing cold. You know it's going to be a little chilly out there, but pack some of that extra clothing with you. It's always important to pack more than enough than not enough. And I also want to say this too, and I'll probably say this again before the end of this program. If your kids are sick, if they are just getting over a cold, postpone your trip. I know this is disappointing to your youngsters. They look forward to it. They look forward to going out on a camping trip. But there are things that are going to set you back. And if it's not the kids being sick, it may be the inclement weather conditions that would cause you to stay on home that weekend. But in any case, you want to make sure that you have a plan B in place. If you plan on going away on a Friday and coming back a Sunday, and you come to find out, well, because of the weather conditions being like they are, maybe John or Sue is sick right now and they're just getting over this cold. I don't want to put that in reverse and make matters worse, so we're going to postpone the trip. Have something else in place. Take the kids to a movie. Take them out to a camping supply store. You never know what you're going to need. Spend the day there. See if there's an RV and camper show somewhere in your area. Go visit that. There's always something you can do with the kids, but you don't want to sit around home and look around at each other and just stop and think, wow, I could be out there, but we're not out there right now. That's not good for the family. It's not good for yourself. You're already disappointed. Have a plan in place. Go to the movies. Do something. But, do something with your kids that weekend if, and only if, you have to postpone your camping trip. I can't tell you how important it is to be prepared anytime you're going away. I don't care if it's in the spring, fall, summer, or wintertime months. If you do your homework ahead of time, you're going to be assured a very memorable and successful camping trip. I always encourage campers, whenever you go camping, check your forecast in advance, and always use your best judgments to determine if the trip is actually worth it. Know what's best for your family. Only you can make that decision. If your kids are not used to being out in the cold and you're introducing them for the very first time, do some research online. And all you've got to do is just put some keywords into the Google search engine, and things will come up. I could sit here for hours telling you what you might want to do, what you should do, what you may not want to consider doing. But a lot of times you're going to be doing things by trial and error. That's the way I've done it over the years. And I have made a lot of mistakes in the past. Yes, I have. I can remember a time going out on a cold weather camping trip in Hiawassee, and I was not prepared. Everything got set up like it should have. I put the tent up, and I did not have a cot. I did not have a roll-out mat or anything to put down between myself and the ground floor of the tent. The temperatures were about 20 degrees up there, and I climbed in my sleeping bag. I had a pillow, and I laid there and I fell asleep. After the second day, I went on home. I packed everything away. By the third day, I was as sick as a dog. How many times have I talked to you on the program about elevating your sleeping bag above the tent floor, one way or the other, whether it be a rollout mat, whether it be an air mattress, or a cot, however you do it? You've got to go ahead and make these preparations. Otherwise, you're going to wind up in the same boat that I was in, and you don't want to come down sick. Use your best judgment. Always determine if the trip is worth it. If the temperatures are too bitter, plan for another day. Never put your family's health and safety at risk. One of the websites that I use when I need to look at a 7-day forecast is NOAA.gov. That's the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration website. NOAA.gov. If you've never been there before, check it out. All you have to do is enter your zip code or the city or state that you want to go camping in, and you'll have a 7-day forecast. You'll see exactly what you're walking into. Anytime we go camping, we hope for sunshine. We hope for really good temperatures. We don't want any rain. We don't want any sleet. We don't want any freezing temperatures. We don't want snow. We don't want ice. None of that stuff. But those are the things you're going to have to look for if you're planning a camping trip. You know the destination you want to go to. Just put that in there, the city, the state, the zip code. It'll come up. Careful planning assures a successful venture anytime you're going on a camping trip. There's 3 important elements to a cold weather camping trip, and I want to talk about some of those right now. First of all, warm clothing, a campfire, and a tent heater. Those 3 things you are definitely going to need if you are planning a cold weather camping trip. Let's talk about the warm clothing. What are you going to include? Include that long underwear. Yes, I have a pair. I carry it with me. I don't always use it, but it's there. It's one of those things I talked about just a moment ago. It's always important to overpack than underpack. Wool socks. Make sure you have some wool socks because you want to keep your feet nice and warm. Also, gloves and a scarf are important. Bring those along too. Make sure that you have headgear. And don't forget those hand warmers. You can get them for a couple bucks a piece in your camping supply. Oh, I don't care if you go to Walmart or any other camping supply store. You can buy them. It's one of those things you tear open and you smash it with your hand and the chemicals mix, and you've got a nice hand warmer there, and they last several hours. Not that you're going to need them, but they're always good to have on hand. I've got dozens of those in my camping supply box. Sometimes I go into the store and I say, wow, do I need this here? Let me grab a couple of these, just like mantles for your lantern. I'm always buying extras of those, and I probably have a dozen or 2 of those in my camping supply box. It's always better to have more than enough than not enough. All right, how about the campfire? Always check wherever you are going. Make sure that a burn ban is not in place. That's one of the things I looked forward to when I went to Hiawassee. I looked forward to a campfire, but I did check ahead of time with the Forestry Service, and I did come to find out that a burn ban was in place. Yes, I drove there. I was disappointed along the way. I was disappointed while I was there. But it's one of those things that, you've got to plan for it. If you're not going to have a campfire, then you may want to consider postponing the trip. It's up to you. Firewood should never be in short supply. Most campgrounds that are open year-round will have firewood available for purchase. And if they do not, chances are there's going to be a firewood vendor somewhere close by that you can go to and you can purchase all the firewood you need. I always make sure that I have plenty on hand. It never hurts to call ahead of time to find out, do they have firewood available? And if not, they probably have a number you can call to a vendor somewhere close by. And generally, it's within close driving distance. Most campgrounds are very aware of this and the importance of having a campfire while you are camping. But keep in mind, too, they, just as well as you, have to obey the law. And if there's a burn ban in effect, then you can't do any type of burning. That's just the way it is. Also, avoid transporting firewood from home. So very important. Visit don'tmovefirewood.org. You'll find all the information there. The last thing you want to do is bring some of these tree-killing insects with you to your camping destination that may be several miles away. And one of the easiest ways to infest that area is bringing firewood from home. There are laws in some states that do prohibit this. In most cases, they encourage you not to bring the firewood with you. Purchase it locally, burn it locally. We talk about that on the show all the time. Again, you want to make sure there's not a burn ban in effect, and if a burn ban is in place, if you're anybody like myself, maybe you may want to consider postponing the trip. Camping is not complete, in my opinion, unless we do have a campfire, just the way it is. Go online, call before you head on out. One of the things I'm really grateful for shortly after the burn ban went into effect, and unfortunately after I came back from the camping trip, is we finally got some rain in the area. And some of that rain was not only refreshing, but we got a little too much of it, in my opinion. Just this past weekend, I thought, well, this would have been a great weekend to go on a cold weather camping trip. Not. We just got over a winter weather watch here in the metro Atlanta area. We don't get these type of weather conditions all that very often here in the South. But every once in a while, maybe once every couple years, the cold weather will move in, snow will move in, icy roads, and everybody's encouraged to stay home, don't go to work that day. This is not the type of weekend that you would want to take the family out on a camping trip. If you're going to go camping in the cold weather, I can't tell you the importance of having a tent heater available to keep you and your family warm while inside your tent. I do understand that some people have small tents and there's just enough room to get everybody inside there, along with their supplies, along with their sleeping bags and their knapsacks and everything else. And you wonder, where am I going to have room for a tent heater? If it gets to that point, you may want to consider upgrading your tent. I, for one, have an 8-person tent. I'm a lone camper, and I love having that room. I like to be able to stand up and stretch. I like to be able to walk around. If I want to bring a tent heater in, I'm definitely going to have the room for it. And the tent heater I have, I do swear by it. It's a wonderful tent heater. It's made by Mr. Buddy, and it's an excellent choice. You've got to do your shopping online. This, like I say, is a tent heater that works for me. Not too long back, when I bought this tent heater, I ended up driving on my camping trip after I had already ordered a heater hose for it. Now, the nice thing about the Mr. Buddy heaters is they do take the 1-pound propane tank, or if you want to order a heater hose, you can attach it to a 20-pound propane tank that's going to provide you uninterrupted sleep throughout the night. It worked very well for me on this last camping trip. The problem is with the 1-pound propane tanks is you're going to have to get up every 3 hours to change out that tank. You'll know it because you'll be sound asleep and all of a sudden you're going to wake up saying, wow, it's mighty chilly in here. And that's because you ran out of propane. You've got to get up, you got to put a new tank in, you got to turn it on, and then count on about another 3 hours of sleep before you have to get up again. That's why I enjoy the 20-pound propane tank. Last year, when I bought this tent heater, I was driving to my camping destination when I got a telephone call. It said, UPS has just delivered your heater hose. How wonderful. I'm like 80 miles away from home at that particular time. But I did have plenty of propane tanks with me, and I had a 20-pound propane tank with me, which I used for something else, which I could have very easily used for the Mr. Buddy heater. But this year, yes, I went up with the 20-pound propane tank, the hose attachment that goes with it, and I had uninterrupted sleep all night long. About 30 minutes before I bedded down, I turned up that tent heater. I had made sure that my tent was properly ventilated. I cracked the windows a little bit. That is so very, very important, to make sure you have proper ventilation in the tent. But when it came time for me to bed down, I went in there, I zipped up, and it was nice, toasty warm. If you're going to go wintertime camping or cold weather camping, I can't tell you the importance of a tent heater. Whatever brand you choose, you want to follow the instructions to the letter. Make sure your tent is properly ventilated. Keep any combustible material away from your heater. Everything needs to be away from that heater. Choose the right size heater for the tent you are using. And if you do not have a tent heater, please never, never under any circumstances use a charcoal grill to heat your tent. Charcoal emits carbon dioxide fumes and CO2 kills. You'll find information online about this. If you do your homework, like I say, you won't have a problem. But if you want to go camping, if you want to do some cold weather camping, get yourself a tent heater. You can't go wrong. And most importantly, follow the manufacturer recommendations to the letter. Your sleep preparations are very important. Again, make sure your sleeping bag is elevated from the floor. If you're going to use a roll-up foam mattress, that should be the very minimum. I would recommend a cot or an air mattress as an ideal choice. I went from a roll-up mat to a blow-up air mattress to a cot to a queen-size blow-up air mattress. So yes, I've graduated now. I don't think I'm going to ever get a king-size sleeping bag or a king-size mattress inside my tent, but you never know what the future holds. Right now, the one that I have is it's excellent because I can sit right up in my tent and just like I'm climbing out of bed. Make sure that your tent will accommodate the fixtures, anything that you add in there. And like I says, depending upon how many people are in your family, how much gear you're bringing along, what you're putting inside the tent, take a look and see what you have. If it's time for you to upgrade to a larger tent, then definitely go ahead and do that. If you're going to be cold weather camping, plan on a lot of hot meals too, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Don't forget the hot chocolate, and if you're going to bring that, also the whipped cream, the marshmallows, and the s'mores. The kids love those. If you're a grown adult like myself, if you drink a lot of coffee, make sure you have plenty of coffee creamer and sugar too. Plan on soup on the menu. Hot soup, especially at lunchtime. Share menu ideas ahead of time. Get an idea what the kids would like to eat. Let them know you're going to be going cold weather camping and see what they have in mind. What do they have a taste for that you could put on the menu? Campers, young and old, love to go to bed with a full tummy. Believe me. Again, if you must postpone your trip, have a backup plan in place. I can't tell you the importance of that. The last thing you want to do is disappoint your kids if you have to postpone your camping trip. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show.
Yep.
I always look for places this time of year to go camping. And the campgrounds that I look for offer year-round camping. Well, there's such a place over in South Carolina. It's the Congaree National Park Camping, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Now, one of the interesting things I need to inform you about this campground, it is a primitive-only site. They do not have accommodations for RVs. And you probably will not bring in all the gear that I normally bring in, because one of these campsites that they have available, you've got to walk to it. It's about a mile hike. But some people are into primitive camping, and there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of backpackers may use this campground, and you carry all your gear in, you carry it on out. The Congaree National Park offers a wide range of opportunities to explore and experience the great outdoors. Many miles of hiking trails can be found in the park, ranging from easy to moderately strenuous. Old-growth trees teeming with wildlife can be accessed by park trails or by exploring the many miles of waterways in a canoe or a kayak. Interpretive programs include guided hikes, canoe tours. Special ranger-led programs are offered throughout the year. You can book your reservation right there online by clicking on the link that we'll have right there on the website all week long. Like it says, it can accommodate tents, primitive only, no electrical hookups. They do have picnic tables and fire rings available. And the water, you're going to have to truck that in, folks, because they do not have water. Myself, for example, I normally carry about 15 gallons of potable water with me anytime I go primitive camping. But again, this campground here, it is very, very primitive. If you want to get into primitive camping, if you want to take in camping this time of the year, it's a great opportunity for you to go ahead and visit this campground. There's a whole host of activities and amenities right there on their website, anything from cell phone service to day use area, educational programs, gift shop, you name it. It's a great place to go camping, and make sure you take a look at some of the know before you go items before you head on out. We'll have a link to it on Happy Camper Radio all week long. If you're looking for primitive camping, if you're looking to get away at a place you can go camping any time of the year, consider the Congaree National Park Camping in South Carolina. It is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And, of course, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, by all means, get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com, and make sure you include a link to the campground website. Well, folks, that's about all the time I have for today's show. It is 2017. We've got a lot of camping to do, a lot of things to talk about this year. So stick around, bring your friends, enjoy Happy Camper Radio any time of the day or night. Remember, folks, every pet deserves a loving home. I want you to do exactly like I did. Visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. You can find us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and now subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. And no question about it, my friends, hang around with me long enough, I'm definitely going to make a happy camper out of you. Talk to you again real soon. You're listening to Happy Camper Radio.